Hi, good to see you. At her granddaughter's graduation, the grandma showed up shoeless, and everyone looked down on her with disdain. In a modest Guadalajara neighborhood, at Dona Maria's vegetable stand, everyone was moved to tears when the granddaughter seized the microphone the moment she beheld that picture. The elderly woman served as a gathering place for the family as Maria prepared the lettuce. A group of carrots were brought over by Camila, her long-lost granddaughter, and I am seriously considering applying for the scholarship to study medicine. In Lavos, Camila expressed optimism. With a smile that encouraged, Maria glanced at Camila. Definitely, you need to enroll. The academic prowess of Camila has never wavered. As she talked, she brushed past a damp rag on the counter. How are your grades at school, my daughter? Are you confident? She asked, her voice filled with concern. Remember, education is the only thing they can't take away from you. I want a better future for you. Camila placed the carrots delicately in a basket and nodded. I'm doing well, but I worry about us, Grandma. The sales here seem a little bit time-consuming. Perhaps I should find a job to boost my income. Maria paused, her gaze fixed on Camila. No, my darling. You must give your full attention to your schoolwork. I'll see to this, but just don't take on too much, Granny. Camila insisted, her face betraying her anxiety. Sure, I can fit my studies into. Maria grabbed Camila's hands and interrupted the night after she had a part-time work. Listen, I've been a field worker my whole life, even as a youngster. Under my feet, I labored. I consider this a luxury now. Works for me. Somewhat more nothing can derail your future plans because of me. Camila paused as she studied the customers passing by the booth. I wish I could do more, she said to her grandmother. Squeezing Camila's hands, Maria smiled and said, My girl, I'm already proud of you. With you, I could never want anything more. A customer approached and interrupted the chat.
Mes gustos, Madre María.
These carrots are gorgeous, Camila. As Maria attended to the client, Camila thought about what her grandma had said. Her knowledge of Maria. He gave her his all for her, and when the customer left, she was inspired to work even more. Maria, Camila's grandma, was Camila's focus. That scholarship will be mine, I assure you. We shall be well taken care of by my profession as a doctor. Watch out. Maria displayed a loving smile as she nodded. You have my vote. Camila, it has always been my ritual to do it while the sun was setting. The vegetable stand was closed by Maria and Camila's joint effort. After a long period of quiet, Camila shattered the spell with a strong grip of the tarps, interrupting her grandmother. Tell me about dealing with everything. Her granddad had departed, her voice betraying a mix of interest and slight melancholy. Suddenly, Maria ceased her actions. One of the lowest points in my life was when I looked at Camila thoughtfully. Hello, Camila. Your mother was a little girl when your grandfather had to take her in. Was a tough situation, and now I'm all by myself. I had to save my strength for both her and myself, though. Camila persisted in setting up the tarps, but her dexterity had diminished, and when Mom, along with Father, the words came out barely above a whisper, and Maria could sense the anguish in every syllable. She walked over to Camila and gently rested a hand on her shoulder, saying, You know, when they left us I was so young, sometimes still I hope they come back. You were so dependent on them when you were young, but you showed incredible strength even then, and I promise you that no matter what, I will be here to help you through this tough time. At times, I feel so alone without them, Camila said to Maria, her grandma, and she ceased all she was doing. It's as if a piece of me had departed with them, yet you have consistently served as my anchor, my refuge. Because you were here, I never once had to fret over anything. Maria felt a lump in her throat as Camila's eyes welled up with tears, but she could also see strength and the sacrifice her grandma had made. Because of you, I am able to keep going. I vowed to myself that I would stop at nothing to ensure Camila's happiness and fulfillment because you shone a light into my life when it was darkest. Bye. I want you to focus on studying and not worry about working. The nearby shops were already closed, and the only sound was the gentle folding of tarps. You know, Grandma, I've always respected your resilience. You persisted even when it seemed like there was no way. Your story motivates me to pursue my goal of becoming a doctor. Camila expressed her refocused resolve with a more assertive tone. Maria beamed with joy. You know, your mom had that same fantasy too. Tears of pride in her eyes. Her lifelong career goal was to attend medical school. If you had gone down that road and accomplished what she couldn't, I would have been overjoyed. Camila admitted, her voice quivering with emotion. Sometimes when I'm studying, I feel like she is here encouraging me. In some way, she is watching you. As they concluded the post, Maria reacted with passion, expressing her pride in all that you are aiming to accomplish. Grandmother, I will achieve it. I will become a doctor not only for myself, Camila thought to herself as she pondered her grandmother's words. Maria nodded, her eyes filled with love, as she said, I always knew you would make it, my girl. I always knew we would be together. As they closed the stall, Camila silently thanked Maria, while Maria responded with tears in her eyes, saying, I love you too, Camila. The day when the university results will be released had finally arrived, and more important than anything else was my beautiful girl. In their humble Guadalajara home, sitting on the weathered sofa, Camila held her cell phone as Maria and Camila shared anxious and anticipatory looks. Could it have been you? Camila Maria attempted to conceal her anxiety in her question. Camila slightly rolled her shoulders. A blend of optimism and doubt reflected in her gaze. It was tough, Grandma. I tried my hardest, but I just don't know. With a little trembling in her fingertips, Camila typed into the university website. Maria observed each action while clutching the. Mara tried to reassure Camila by saying, no matter what happens, I'm proud of you, while holding her hand tightly. As her name appeared on the list of those admitted with a % scholarship, Camila nodded in gratitude as the page loaded slowly. Her joyous escape from both Camila was embraced tightly by Maria, her wrinkly face betraying her overwhelming joy. You did it, my girl. With a voice trembling with emotion, Maria remarked. Camila embraced her while she was still in a daze. Returning Grandma, my granny, I am speechless. I have received a complete scholarship. Her voice betrayed her joy, and she couldn't help but smile. Maria took a small step back. You have brought our dream to life. And I look at Camila with a blend of pride and awe. Camila, our family's dream. Crying it out as Maria started to share her story, Camila listened intently while holding her hand and asked, you know, I barely had the opportunity to study. I spent most of my life working. I barely knew how to read. A cousin of mine taught me when I was young. You are granting her a dream that I could never have dreamed of, and I will finally be able to claim that my granddaughter is a doctor. All of this is, Camila enthusiastically squeezed Maria's hands. Grandma, I appreciate all the time and effort you put in and the things you gave up for me. I will become a doctor, not just for myself but for all of us. Maria, despite the tears, smiled with joy and contentment because I always knew you could do it. Camila, I take great pride in you. During the remainder of the afternoon, Maria worked in a celebratory mood while she made the meal. Camila's favorite, and they spoke about their future goals and how this accomplishment would impact their lives. We did it together, Camila's grandma told her, and the two of them enjoyed a genuine moment of happiness and optimism. With a look that betrayed her awe from the first weeks, Camila returned home after yet another long day at the Faculty of Medicine. As Maria was chopping vegetables for dinner, she asked her granddaughter Camila how her time at university was going because she is always paying attention. Camila's happiness was contagious. Just tell me everything. I'm quite curious. Camila enthusiastically began to describe everything. Grandma. The buildings are enormous and contemporary. The libraries have literature I never knew existed, and everyone is so kind and speaks clearly and correctly. She placed her backpack on the chair and continued to illustrate how different everything was. I feel like I've stepped into another dimension. As you and your students were combining the ingredients on the stove, Maria grinned. Are you able to integrate with them? How are they doing? She turned to face Camila and inquired. For an instant, the youthful pupil paused. I felt out of place at first, like I didn't belong there, but I'm trying to adapt and learn from them as well. Most of the people on the team come from quite different backgrounds than ours, and some of them have expensive, name-brand vehicles and clothes, and talk about going on exotic vacations. Next, Camila brought up Rodrigo, a fellow student. There's this boy named Rodrigo who has been really helpful to me. He even drove me to the faculty restaurant the other day. Rodrigo is well liked by his peers, and she spoke with a twinkle in her eye as she stated, he still tries to talk to me and include me in the study groups. Maria diligently listened. She scowled slightly, but seriously. Camila, you should exercise caution with those young men from privileged backgrounds. They may have ulterior motives when they approach young women like you. Camila was taken aback and irritated by her grandmother's comment, particularly because you are a beautiful and bright child. You are displaying bias. Rodrigo is merely a friend. He is kind to me, and I am capable of looking for myself. This is not due to. I've changed from a girl to a rich person who is going to be a terrible person who is now a college student. She spoke with a more forceful tone than normal, expressing the urge to forge her own path in life and experience things up close. Maria could hear Camila's unease in her voice and sighed, attempting to be cautious with her words. I get that, Camila, and I'd rather not belittle her. I simply fret over you. As your grandma, it is my responsibility. I simply want you to be ready for life's various hazards so that they don't injure you. Maria uttered a variety of words. Worried and irritated, Camila took a deep breath as she whisked the sauce in the pan. I understand that you are concerned about me, Grandma, but I must also learn to be self-reliant. On a peaceful night, Maria and Camila were engrossed in their hobbies when Maria raised a significant subject. I want to take advantage of the opportunities that the college is giving me to get to know this new world. In her words, she was attempting to express her own conviction. Camila, next Saturday, I'll be spending the day at church, a special day for both me and the community. So I need you to handle the position. Camila, who was completing a university summary, paused for a moment, her expression betraying her apparent irritation. On Saturday, my grandmother had plans, and I wanted to go out with some college friends. You know how to make the most of the little free time I have. He seemed fatigued. While on the voice, Maria answered with a gentle firmness, saying, I know you're busy, my dear, as she felt a twinge of concern. You should know that I only ask for your assistance on these certain days, and I get that you want to make the most of your youth. I hold my position in the church in the highest regard, and it is crucial for my family and me that it continues to support our home. You are aware that Camila let out a palpable sigh, her eyes betraying her inner turmoil. I get Granny and I get the significance of the job, but I also need my own space to experience college life. You know, I'm beginning to relish a new chapter in my life. Maria gazed at her grandchild with a blend of profound grief and comprehension. Camila, things have changed since you started university. You have always been there for me, as a granddaughter and a friend. I get that college is a time for growth and change, but I still feel like I'm losing my daughter and that you're abandoning me. With her eyes betraying the anguish she felt at seeing her granddaughter depart, Maria said to a muted voice, Grandma, I am growing and changing. It's natural. I can't stay trapped here, Camila said in a tone that betrayed her rising irritation with the conversation. Despite my hopelessness, I had plans for this coming Saturday with Rodrigo, but I'll cancel our plans and remain at my job because you're so insistent. Maria had never witnessed her granddaughter's attitude, a blend of exasperation and displeasure, in her attempts to alleviate the tension, and it was evident in her countenance. Maria attempted to shift the conversation by asking, Rodrigo appears to be very involved in your life recently. Is this friendship evolving into something more? In an effort to conceal her worries, Camila swiftly reacted, her voice betraying her defensiveness. Not a grandmother, I simply want to live my life outside of this restricted area. Rodrigo is merely a friend, and you are being overly restrictive by seeking out things that do not exist. You fail to comprehend why. Maria was taken aback by Camila. My sole concern has always been you, Camila. Ever since you were a tiny girl, I have stood by your side, offering assistance and ensuring your well-being. Limiting you was never my intention. Your happiness and safety are my top priorities. When she heard her granddaughter say such hurtful things, her voice quivered with a mix of shock and anguish. Their strained relationship was an obvious sign of the changing times and the difficulties they would confront together. On that particular Saturday, Maria and her devoted companions were busy in the church kitchen making meals for the families in the area, those in need in the neighborhood, while the sound of spices, laughter, and discussions about the charity initiative filled the air. To hear that our tiny initiative is having such a significant impact on so many lives fills me with joy. Maria, as she deftly chopped vegetables, a friend of hers confirmed, "That's right. Every Saturday we meet new people, and they all have stories to tell. It's satisfying to know that we're helping to lighten their load." A short time as Maria, Dona Anna's friend and neighbor, chatted visibly distressed, she burst into the kitchen, slicing through the cozy ambience. "You must come immediately, Maria. Something occurred at your house, and they sent me to inform you about it." The lady was gasping for air. Her comments were hastily uttered, betraying her state of fear. A neighbor was able to tell Maria that two men wearing helmets had robbed the vegetable stand, and Maria, startled and terrified, halted what she was doing to ask what had happened to the stall. Her heart was racing, and she felt an increasing sense of unease. Maria felt as if her feet had vanished from beneath her as she gasped for air. "Camila is currently attending to the stall. No worries, she's doing okay." You could feel the worry in her voice. She was consumed by the notion that her grandchild had been abducted. The neighbor, whose face betrayed her fear, expressed her doubt by shaking her head. "I am uncertain." "Hi, Maria. I hurried over to inform you as soon as I heard about the heist. We must proceed to that location. There can be no further delay in contacting law enforcement." With her sole concern being the safety of Camila, Maria snatched her purse and bolted out the church, with the neighbor trailing closely behind. As Maria hurried through Guadalajara's streets, her pulse pounding like a drum, she hardly paid attention to She prayed silently, tears welling up in her eyes, to the people who turned their backs on her as she ran, to the neighbor who tried to catch up with him, to El Paso, who tried to console him, and to the fact that they would find her. "Hello, Camila." Her cunning must have led her to conceal herself as she neared. While in the market, Maria noticed a large group of store owners congregating close to her stall. As Camila continued to walk, her heart clenched and her terror grew. Screaming, Camila struggled to free herself. As I made my way through the throng, I noticed a mix of curiosity and concern on the faces of those around me. Despite the crowds, Maria managed to make it to the stall. She was panting heavily. A scene of destruction greeted Maria as she entered the vegetable stand. She hardly believed what she saw. The morning vegetables that she always picked out and put on show were now strewn across the floor, crushed and forgotten. The cash box, which contained the day's earnings, was unlocked and devoid of any money, a harsh consciousness of the things she had omitted. Despite Maria's strenuous searches, she could not locate her granddaughter Camila, leaving her feeling a mix of despair and disbelief. Camila may have gone out for whatever reason, according to Dona Anna, who was attempting to be a soothing presence next to Maria. She may have gone in search of something, or she may be close by. No matter what, Camila has always taken charge. "Anna, Maria would never abandon you like that." But Maria shook her head in disbelief and confusion. Given the significance of this position to us, particularly in light of recent events, Camila would never abandon me in such a state, her voice quivering with fear. With her cell phone in hand, Maria called Camila. Suddenly buzzed. For Maria, each rang an eternity. When Camila finally answered, a flood of relief washed over her, but she soon felt confused and terrified. Camila, the emotion in Maria's voice was so overwhelming that it quivered. "Where on earth are you?" Anxiety in the opposite party. "What do you want?" Something happened in the chapel, and Camila gave a distant, icy response. "I'm at the post, Grandma." "No, you're not here. I'm at the post right now, and it's a chaotic scene since they stole the stand." Camila's statements appeared to contradict the reality that Maria was experiencing. "Even with our TV here, Camila, you were always so conscientious about being up to date on everything." There was a little gap before Camila responded. "Why did you leave everything like that?" Maria had never heard a voice like his before. It was so icy. "Grandma, I've already informed you that I preferred not to be at the restroom. I was planning to treat myself to a little fun today. Rodrigo and I are going out, like I mentioned before. Now I'm in his company. Then he was going to bring me to you," he claimed. "It wouldn't have been an issue if you returned." Maria, who was still attempting to comprehend the situation, heard Camila's comments as disjointed. Although Maria's heart broke, Camila remained calm. We have been victimized by a heist because you left the position vulnerable. You were always my companion. How are you able to do this? My loyal helper. Just how could you leave me hanging like that? Maria's voice resounded with anguish and shock. On the opposite side, Camila's response was savage and sharp. Grandma, I've previously informed you that I'd rather not deal with this. You and your dramatics are really terrible. I agree with Rodrigo. Camila hung up the phone before Maria could react when we spoke later. Maria was frozen in place, her ear glued to the phone as tears streamed down her face, a combination of shock, despair, and an overwhelming feeling of melancholy coursing through her. Feeling deeply betrayed in the midst of the vegetable stand's chaos, Maria found it difficult to make sense of Camila's behavior and words, let alone the impact of Rodrigo, all while trying to comprehend the robbery and their talk. Maria started to feel an intense pressure in his chest, making it harder for him to breathe. He balanced himself by leaning on the untidy counter. My high blood pressure has always required constant attention, and I am not feeling well, Anna murmured, her voice quivering with terror and misery. You need to calm down, Maria. Let's sit down for a bit. You can't let this affect you so much. Dona Anna, her face contorted with increasing concern, took Maria by the arm, offering support. Maria, her eyes watering with the weight of the situation, gazed about at the chaos. I had devoted my life to this position for Camila, and now this, my granddaughter, whom I had reared with an abundance of love and affection, treats me this way. It's beyond anything I could have imagined. I could have envisioned Camila treating me this way. The sound of anguish and despair resounded in Maria's voice. In an attempt to provide a strong support for her companion, Dona Anna gave a stern response. Wow, you're one formidable lady. A lot has already happened to you. You toiled in the heat of the day on the plantations, barefoot. Put a stop to her. Consuelo de Dona Anna's comments failed to deter Camila, who is now destroying all you have worked for. Camila may be confused due to her new partner, but she will eventually understand the error of her ways. Calm down, Dona Anna frantically yelled out for help, her voice resonating through the market. Maria, in a state of panic, managed to scream out, "Someone help! We need a doctor here." As onlookers gathered around, trying to make sense of what was happening, Maria retrieved her phone to call the emergency room, pleading for an ambulance to arrive quickly because a woman was having a heart attack. A cardiac arrest. I'll provide you with the number where I was speaking on the phone while attempting to hold Maria tightly as they awaited the arrival of the ambulance. Maria, who seemed pale and visibly gasping for air, was the object of Dona Anna's gaze. Camila must be informed, therefore I will contact her. But Maria, despite her own sorrow, she shook her head weakly and said, "No, Anna, don't bring Camila into this. I'm dealing with enough problems as it is. I would rather not for her to be concerned about me at this time." Her voice had been a final attempt at parental protection towards the paramedics promptly arrived, evaluated Maria's condition, and started getting her ready for transport because she loved her granddaughter so much. On the way to the hospital, Dona Anna reassured Maria that she didn't have to worry about anything because she would take care of everything. As the paramedics escorted Maria to the ambulance, Maria was deep in thought, experiencing a combination of physical pain and anxiety. A sense of sorrow and despair washed over everyone in the hospital as they thought about Camila and the life they had created together, and how everything had fallen apart so suddenly. An image of Maria's vulnerability hung over her as she lay in bed, attached to many tubes and monitors. Conditioned Dona Anna, who has been by your side for a long time and is a loyal friend, was clutching your hand warmly. A middle-aged man with a grave countenance, the doctor described the scenario. "Dona Maria, your blood pressure was elevated, and you showed signs of a heart attack. Exceedingly high and extremely risky at all costs. Stay away from stressful situations. We will begin treatment with certain daily drugs. It's fortunate that the ambulance got there so fast. Otherwise, the situation could have been considerably worse." Maria, whose look was weary and disheartened, turned to Dona Anna after listening to the doctor's words, which mirrored the worry and dread I had. "Anna, I've always felt old, but this is the first time I've felt it genuinely, powerful and able to cope with anything. Yet suddenly it appears like my world is collapsing around me. The burden of Maria's vulnerability was something she seldom let anyone see. Adoringly, Dona Ana gripped Maria's hand. Maria, you are, and always have been, a warrior, but even heroes require downtime. With all due respect to Maria, she hesitated before continuing, her words picked out with care. Since you've always looked out for Camila, I feel like she should know what happened. A lot of young people don't get the opportunities that you've provided her. Thank you for allowing her to study without worrying about work. However, now that she has successfully entered university, she is behaving in an inappropriate manner. She needs to know what caused it, and I'm sorry, but I think she's being quite ungrateful. I know, Anna. I know, Maria murmured, her eyes betraying her grief. But young people are like that, she said. Along the road, they occasionally become disoriented, allowing themselves to be swept away by intriguing new people and situations. I hope I don't frighten Camila. I hope she doesn't attribute this to herself. His voice. Softness remained in her. Despite everything, Maria is full of love and care for her granddaughter. The results of her acts must be known to her. She must realize that her actions have consequences for others, particularly for you, her constant companion. Adona, please, Anna said with conviction. You can't shield Maria from every danger, no matter how strong your convictions are. Sometimes, the truth is essential for personal development. You could be correct, Maria thought as she peered out the window at the overcast sky. I don't want to further alienate you, Anna, but I need some time to think about it. Once I return home and am feeling better, we will make an effort to gain a better understanding of what transpired. The internal struggle she felt between wanting to shield her granddaughter and wanting to tell her the truth about what she had done was reflected in her trembling voice. I will be here for you, Maria, Dona Ana said, acknowledging the precarious situation in which Maria found herself. You are never truly alone, regardless of your choice. The doctor has informed me that you will be able to go home soon. There was complete silence from the two ladies. Already at home on Monday, Maria felt the need to have a vital chat with Camila before she departed for university, but she was lost in thought. Maria made her way to Camila's room, cautiously opened the door, and discovered my daughter getting ready for the day. We have always been friends, and I always believed I could rely on you. Now I want to know what occurred on Saturday so I can make sense of your behavior. Maria started to stutter as she tried to keep up. Steadiness of emotion when she conversed as Maria's tears welled up in her eyes. I realized that her decision to leave the job was about more than simply money. It was also about her consideration. Maria took a long breath, attempting to calm herself, because she was terrified that something dreadful had happened to you. Camila, I also need to take care of myself. Your grandma is getting on in years. Stop weeping. While tears streamed down her cheeks, she expressed how much Saturday's events had touched her. As Camila finished getting ready, she replied with a vocal tone that suggested, Annoyance, Grandma, now that I'm seeing Rodrigo. He's showing me a new world where not everything is suffering like, when he turned to face Maria with an irritated expression on his face. I don't have time for dramas like that, especially since I'm already late for university. There is space for pleasure, dining out, and living life to the fullest. I refuse to subject myself to the shame of working at a vegetable stand anymore. I now reside with influential people, and I require. You don't understand, Grandma. Things have changed for me. I am living a new life. Camila said in a voice Maria had never heard before, and Maria felt her heart constricted as she realized that her beloved granddaughter was becoming someone she hardly recognized. Camila had always been enough, no matter what we did for a living. What defines our value, though, is love, respect, and consideration, not work. For one another, and the fact that we worked in the position, which was never an excuse for embarrassment, was our means of subsistence. I discovered a method to support you financially so that you could get an education. Her voice quivering with emotion, Maria spoke. Rodrigo is a good boy with intentions with you, but I feel like he's manipulating you. Maria gently asked Camila about Rodrigo, who she and Maria are still attempting to resolve. While Maria was hoping for reassurance on her granddaughter Camila's new partner, she ended up responding with, Clear annoyance undoubtedly. He hails from an other planet, Granny. Educated, multilingual, and well-traveled. He treats me well, and wants nothing more than for me to enjoy a life of luxury with him. My grandmother, there was a constriction in Maria's heart. Despite a wave of melancholy, I fought back tears as I listened to Camila's remarks. Maria whispered a response that betrayed her years of expertise. There is much more of life to teach you, Camila. My darling, not all shiny objects are worthless. Never forget that all I can do is wish the best for you, and I hope you find happiness. But never lose sight of our roots, and know that in all things, only God and your family will be at your side. You are young and lovely now, but when circumstances are tough, keep in mind what your grandpa did to me as he watched tears well up in his eyes. Maria added, I have worked under the sun my whole life. Your grandfather left me for a younger and more attractive woman, but I kept my job and paid for your education so that you can be a doctor. It is not disheartening that Maria's remarks were sentimental. In order for Camila to keep in mind her heritage and principles while she spoke, Maria reached for Camila's robe on the bed, intending to fold it lovingly, but Camila snatched it from Maria's hands in an abrupt motion, telling her to let it go because she was afraid Maria would get soiled. Maria, taken aback and wounded by Camila's scornful attitude, retreated a step. A more elevated tone of speech came out of Camila as her frustration became apparent. Wow, these sermons are becoming old fast. After all, I am of legal age. You must give me space so that I can attend to my personal affairs. Rodrigo, it appears crystal clear that I will be living with Rodrigo while we finish university. He has already given it to me, but he insists I was born for greater things. So that you won't have to worry about spending money on me or spit out these sermons, I need to take care of myself. The ice was broken between them by Camila's incisive remarks. Camila was met with a combination of emotions as Maria, sensing the increasing gap between them, glanced at her. With a heavy heart, I wish nothing but the best for you, Camila. If that is your preference, though, I will honor it. I will be here for you, my daughter. No matter what. Maria rose slowly to her feet, her exhausted and forlorn form standing in stark contrast to Camila's resolute vitality. Please give me a call every so often to let me know how you are doing. Maria departed from the room after saying those words, leaving Camila to gather her belongings and start packing her bags. In the years that followed, Maria experienced a great deal of loneliness and despair, turning her nights into times of quiet contemplation and personal dialogues with God. On a particularly sorrowful afternoon, as I was having coffee at Dona Ana's house, the conversation inexorably veered towards Camila, as she sought solace and comprehension in the absence of Camila. Her days were occupied with post activities and friendly encounters with community members who became her support system. Dona Ana, who was constantly concerned, inquired about Camila. Maria. While staring at the coffee cup she was holding, Maria let out a sigh. Camila, in my opinion, this partnership with. We have occasional phone conversations, but she hardly pays me a visit because Rodrigo has indoctrinated her. There must be some remnant of my Camila inside her, but this manipulative monster is smothering her. Maria spoke from a place of anguish and annoyance. Maria continued, her voice quivering, as she tries her hardest to convey the difficulties she feels in embracing her granddaughter's change, as he has managed to persuade her that her past is something she ought to be ashamed of. He brought her into a new environment, and she becomes so attached to it that she lets herself be influenced by negative people. With a look of profound melancholy on her face, Maria slowly shook her head. In an attempt to provide Maria with some solace, Dona Ana put her hand on hers. You cannot hold yourself responsible for Camila's current decisions because you did everything in your power to help her, including providing her with love, education, and a home. Dona Ana's words were stern yet soothing, as only a genuine friend could, Maria. Her expression was one of utter helplessness as she gazed at Dona Ana. Whatever happens, I will always love and support you, but I can't ignore how disappointed I am. Our connection has evolved to this stage, which I never would have thought possible. Perhaps Camila will come to understand the true meaning of life, the importance of family love and true values. As time goes on, Dona Ana observed thoughtfully, because life leads us down unexpected paths. Maria, you must not give up hope. Times change and maybe Camila is still Rediscover our path. Maria acknowledged Dona Anna's correctness by nodding. I pray to God every day about this, Anna, and I hope that Camila finds the light again so that she can see beyond the illusions that young man put in her head. Maria stayed strong in her relationship with God and her friends. During a peaceful afternoon, Maria's phone rang and a familiar voice answered. Camila, whose voice was strained from sobbing, spoke up nonetheless. Grandma, can I go back home? She pleaded, her voice betraying her emotions. Sadness and remorseful feelings. Without hesitation, Maria acted out of her boundless parental love. With a mix of comfort and anxiety, she said, Of course, my daughter. You can always come home. Camila's arrival, with her baggage trailing behind, added to her unease. When Maria arrived to offer her assistance, she could feel the profound anguish in her eyes. With the look of her grandchild and the face of someone who has suffered great pain, could you please tell me what occurred? Camila, without offering an explanation, Maria spoke with an empathic and kind tone, asking, Why are you crying like that? Upon hearing the unshod feet of Maria, who best felt supported by her ankles as she sobbed hysterically, begged her grandmother, Please, forgive me. I am so sorry for everything. I am sorry for the harm I caused. I am so sorry for the pain I caused you. I regret it deeply. It's been so long, but I couldn't get out of that situation. My world did not belong to me, and I was ensnared in it, Grandma. Words escaped Camila's mouth as she sobbed. Maria knelt down, hugged Camila passionately, and her eyes welled up with tears. Sure thing, my darling. I'm well aware. Moreover, I do really pardon you, but you must really grasp the depths of my pain and the anguish you caused me. What you did to me was so terrible. It is inhumane, and I have already lost your mother, Camila, Maria said with a voice that was shaking but brimming with love. Camila continued to wet her blouse as she sobbed into her grandmother's embrace. You will find a way to forgive me, Grandma. I am aware of Maria. I was naive. I was naive about the world I believed I desired, but it was all a mirage. I miss our time together. Her words were a sea of sorrow and regret. Maria said, I will take you back, with an expression of compassion and wisdom, as Camila looked into the eyes of the drug dealer. Camila, I will forgive you because God taught me to, but you must understand and never forget how much they stayed wrapped in each other's arms for what felt like an eternity, with only Camila's cries breaking the surrounding quiet. The suffering you caused me, Camila said. The path ahead would be difficult, Maria knew. There would be wounds to mend and trust to establish. So that one can reconstruct. Camila, her face flushed from tears, took a minute to collect herself before breaking the news to Maria. Grandma, I'm pregnant, which she whispered softly, as they settled into the living room for a more meaningful and peaceful chat. As Maria waited in stunned silence for Camila to elaborate, I informed Rodrigo and his family that they wanted me to terminate the pregnancy, claiming that having a child would limit his opportunities in life. Camila then spoke those words, leaving behind a trail of suffering and letdown. Maria leaned over Camila and gave her a strong embrace. We will tend to that life that is developing within you, my daughter. You are about to graduate from university. You don't need those soulless vampires. They will give you what you deserve, one step at a time. Camila sobbed into Maria's arms once more, expressing her feelings of not deserving Maria's understanding and compassion in light of what she had done. The guilt evident in her voice was overwhelming, and every word she spoke was filled with sorrow. Maria is seen with the face of Camila with a blend of tenderness and discipline. She met her granddaughter's eyes and whispered, Now I am being understanding not only with you, but with my great-grandson, the grandson of my beloved daughter who is in your womb. Camila gained a fresh understanding of her grandmother's love for her after hearing Maria's words. I am incredibly terrified of becoming a mother or grandmother. With a quiver in her voice, Camila confessed once again. Maria embraced her, providing the solace that can only be found in a mother's embrace. We are here to help you through this journey. Camila, they conversed for hours, with Maria imparting her knowledge and expertise and Camila listening attentively. As you listened intently, you learned how to mend their relationship and become a better mother overall. Both of us will love Camila and her kid, they stated. Maria shows her tears of joy while smiling. Camila, who was suddenly experiencing a glimmer of hope, gazed at Maria with a fresh sense of awe and reverence. I aspire to be an exceptional mother. My dear grandmother with a twinkle in her eye. Maria nodded in agreement. I want to be like you, strong, loving, determined, and never again putting myself in the position I was in. With that, Maria promised her grandma that she would always honor her for being the remarkable woman that she is. Concerning Maria's house was filled with a rush of emotions as they prepared for Camila's graduation, the day of the major event. Maria was becoming increasingly reluctant. She timidly approached Camila, who was glowing in her cap and gown, and whispered, "I'm scared to approach you. Final exam, I hope I don't give you any embarrassment." Camila, she halted her activity and approached Maria, her expression a mix of surprise and affection after hearing her grandma's comments. "It's impossible to embarrass you, grandmother. Through it all, I have come to realize that nothing compares to the pride I feel in you. You are the driving force behind my graduation today." Even though Maria smiled, a hint of uncertainty lingered in her eyes. "I just can't get these shoes off my feet," she confessed. "Dear Maria, Camila." She smiled softly and asked, "Then would you rather go shoeless? I know you're not feeling well." "My goal is to ensure your comfort, Grandma. You have just as much right to this day as I do. No matter what other people believe, you can count on me to be at your side." Maria was touched by Camila's offer, and you could see by the genuineness in her eyes that she meant it. Even though she was still hesitant to wear shoes to the event, Camila's readiness to support her helped ease her doubts. With a strong grip on Maria's hand, Camila told Grandma what? "It doesn't matter what other people think. What matters is that we are here today, sharing this time with each other, and our love and support for each other as we enter the graduation party." Camila and Maria. They drew the attention of those around them as they moved hand in hand. The onlookers gave Barefoot Mary, a symbol of her modest origins and the simplicity of her existence, the most critical glances. Upon becoming aware of the stares and murmurs, Camila paused for a second before removing her own clothing as a sign of love and unity. Standing in step with her grandma, defying the expectations and conventions of society with her gaze locked on Maria, Camila rose to her feet and began her impassioned address. "This speech is for my grandmother, the woman who raised me and the true warrior of this story." The story of her grandmother's struggle to provide for her mother and ultimately lead her to a better future was recounted by Camila. "The fact that I was able to use the proceeds from my grandmother's vegetable shop to fund completing my medical degree today." Camila kept her strong voice even though she was crying. "Even when I was wrong, influenced by horrible people, my grandmother took me back with my son," she said, gesturing toward the university director. "I think some people here do not deserve this diploma." He stopped and stared at Rodrigo intensely. During my years of living with Rodrigo, he consistently sought to downplay. I preserved proof that he had cheated on every exam since the start of the semester, and he had to pay the price. Give them the task of finishing his work to him. I have already sent his secretary, Mr. Director, the formal complaint and the documentation. Nothing moved in the room. Now everyone was staring at Rodrigo. Several classmates rose to their feet, lending credence to Camila's claims. After hearing the shocking disclosures, the director demanded that Rodrigo leave the premises. However, as he was being led away, Rodrigo started yelling insults, particularly directed at Maria, who had been watching the incident with a mix of shock and indignation up until that point. Remaining composed and elegant, she was proud of her granddaughter's courage. Maria approached him barefoot, lifted a glass of drink from the table, and tossed it in his face, exuding the strength and dignity that had been earned through a life of challenges and victories. "You are not going to be my dad, your great-grandson, and the pain you've inflicted on other people will be multiplied by God." Camila hurried to be by her grandma's side because, as she put it, "No amount of money can purchase the dignity that my grandmother has. This is something that neither you nor your family will ever possess, and I refuse to believe that I will ever learn its source." As the guards removed Rodrigo, who was now rendered speechless by Camila's remarks and Maria's steadfast position, Camila defended Maria, saying that the police would be aware of all the money her family had obtained through unscrupulous schemes and illegal transactions, as well as all she had witnessed. Not only did the crowd erupt in applause for Justice's act, but it also recognized Maria's fortitude and character. As the night progressed, revelers celebrated Camila's graduation and the victory of honesty, integrity, and boundless affection. With Maria now encircled by admirers of her resilience, Camila felt tremendous pride in her, and Camila, completely liberated from the past, embraced her grandma, secure in the knowledge that they were unbeatable as a team. The lives of Maria and Camila were changed in the years that followed. Embark on a remarkable path of triumph and fulfillment with Camila, who is now a devoted mother and a highly esteemed heart surgeon. Her son, a joyful and affectionate young man, formed a unique link with his grandma, bringing pleasure and laughter into their home. Joy and peace at the inauguration reception of the new house that Camila had purchased for Maria. An air of excitement and appreciation filled the air, and Maria relished every moment spent with her family, who were living in a state of tranquility and contentment. A longtime friend of Maria, Ana, Dona Ana, was greeted by Camila and Maria. "There are no words to express how much I appreciate all that you've done for my grandma and how much you were there for her." To which Camila responded with a gleam in her eye. Camila proceeded to unveil I had prepared a surprise for Dona Ana. I hope the vegetable stand remains in your family's hands. Since I chose to retire my grandmother, the business has been out of commission. I am the only one who can carry on her heritage, therefore any necessary reforms will fall on my shoulders. There was no need for words as Dona Ana embraced Maria and Camila, her excitement plainly visible. "Camila, this is an outstanding present. With all my heart and soul, I shall fulfill the duties of the role." Dona Ana brought up something that Maria was aware of when the topic shifted to the past. Camila's accusation led to the arrest of Rodrigo's entire family. "I had always known she was a decent person with a pure heart," and Maria felt a twinge of pride in her eyes. "I had also always known Camila would find her way back. She is strong, courageous, and, most importantly, an honest person." "Camila," Maria glanced across at you and said, "I am sure your mother is looking down on us, proud of the woman you have become and how you are raising your son with respect and humility." The celebration went on as planned. Sitting peacefully as she watched her loved ones celebrate, Maria felt a profound feeling of contentment, thankfulness, and peace. Her life, which had been fraught with hardship, had become an inspiration to others through love, faith, and perseverance. If you found this story interesting, please consider giving the channel a like and subscribing. Because to you, we are able to keep publishing thrilling tales nearly daily. The next amazing tale is about to come out, so make sure you don't miss it. Your support means the world to us. That is, until all set.